Let's give it a shot.
Public comment on agenda items. Liaison department head reports. Treasurer. I really hope we're reporting because this not exciting.
Okay, good evening, Board. Treasurer's report for May. The revenue expense reports were produced and provided for the village board to review. We're getting into year end, so any questions on that, let me know. Our net fund balance should be moving up in a good positive direction, and I think the numbers will support that when we do the final year end. Very good report to the board as far as the village's credit rating by S&P. There's two main credit rating agencies out there. One is Moody's, the other is Standard & Poor's. During a time when a lot of communities and municipalities are getting downgraded in their credit rating, with good measure, the village's credit rating was raised. We've went from A+, which has been the credit rating for the village for 20 plus years essentially. We went to AA-, which is a 1-point upgrade, which puts us in much better position as far as borrowing money. It's the highest rating the village has ever had. Speaking with the analysts last month, they were very encouraged by the management approach that the board is taking, especially with fiscal matters, especially with reserve funds, especially with the overall meeting the challenge of declining revenues due to the assessed values of the properties here. So this is a bit of really good news, I feel, going into the new year. They've also issued a stable outlook. Pretty much they can say a negative, a stable, or a positive or improving outlook. So stable outlook is solid. Sometimes you'll have cases where you'll keep your rating, but you'll be negative outlook, which means that you're potentially up for a downgrade. So the one thing, and this isn't news to anybody, but the one thing I did want to point out to the board is their biggest concern about the village, and I'll read exactly what it says. The village's debt and contingent liabilities profile is weak. Now, contingent liabilities is essentially benefits, long-term retiree benefits, all your GASB 49 costs. They say that total government fund debt services 12% of government total funds and expenditures. And the net direct debt is 121% of total government funds revenue. When you look, the Highland Falls Village participates in the state employee retirement system and funds 100% of the annual required contribution. One of the things that they're seeing and they're looking to see is boards that are going to start having employees help pay into their benefits and increasing their contribution to the benefits. They're also talking about the OPEB costs, which is other post-employment benefits. I talked about that, the long-term liabilities. That also is a concern for them. They consider the institutional framework score compared to other New York State villages to be strong. They feel we have very strong liquidity, and the management conditions are accurate with standard financial practices under our financial management assessment methodology, indicating our view that the government maintains adequate policies in some, but in not all key areas. And they continue to reference the debt as one of their biggest concerns. Finally, under outlook, the stable outlook reflects what we view as Highland Falls Village's very strong liquidity, strong economy, and continuous success in increasing its budgetary flexibility. Precluding a higher rating, the reason why the village does not have a higher rating is because of the village's very weak debt and liabilities profile. So at the end of the day, target number one with the rating agencies, and probably anybody who's looking to purchase our debt, is we got to get a stronger handle of the quantity and the amount of debt that we have. I will say that now that we're going for a consolidation of 2 bond anticipation notes next month, this should help us. We're going with a public sale of the debt, which is going to open the doors to other financial institutions that might not normally bid on the debt of the village. This upgrade to AA- could really help us in, number one, finding other sources other than the local sources. Number 2, getting a basis point reduction from what our normal rates have been. So at the end of the day, with all of this is less funds that the village is going to have to expend on interest, and ultimately will help the village taxpayer because budgetary requirements will be then less. So very important, and I felt it was a testament to the village's actions in management and in the overall confidence that the rating upgrade was made. And just to give you a last little tidbit, Moody's rated the village at A1 back in 1996. It was really called BAA1, but they made a revision in their calculations and essentially became A1. So we've been A1 for the last 20 plus years. S&P in 2009 was brought in because Moody's was doing this reorganization as to how they were rating bonds. At that time in 2009, S&P was at A+. A+ and A1 are essentially equivalent. So this increase now, where in 2012 they kept it at A+, they increased it in 2014, 2 years later on their biennial review to AA-, is in fact the highest rating the village has ever had. So very important, and I think for the future, the only direction really should be up, as long as the practices are continuing to be maintained and increased and so on, as we've talked about. Fiscal year 2013 year end is at the end of this month, May 31st. As mentioned during the last board meeting, all fiscal year purchases should be complete. Final bills and claims are going to be approved on the 29th by the board unless they're encumbered. So any departments that have any other expenditures that aren't known as of this point need to let the village board know, because pretty much we're at the end of the road for this year's budget. And any money that isn't expended is going to roll over as fund balance for next year. Finally, Independence Day Committee funds have been reconciled. I reviewed the books, and the funds are growing nicely. There have been some nice contributions. I think that there's probably still some contributions out there, and I would encourage everybody to really advertise that the Independence Day Committee could really use their help, and financially and/or even in volunteering. So I just wanted to assure the board, and again, all the books that are being kept for seniors and for the village are essentially under the auspices of the village, and I'm acting in the fiduciary role of managing the books. But all decisions on expenditures are being made by the committees. So if the 4th of July committee is going to spend any money, it's not me that's spending the money, it's that representative for the committee that is going to issue a document that says, please spend X dollars on this item, and then I'll then proceed to get the expenditure taken care of. So it's completely transparent. Any member of the public that would like to look at that, all that stuff is available for inspection if necessary. Finally, I wanted to just mention that the bond offering that's going out is going to go out. The sale date is on May 28th. A prospectus and notice of sale has been put together. It's being refined right now by bond counsel, which is Dan Birmingham and his firm, Hawkins Delafield. And that will all go out. That's $692,500. That's not new debt. That's existing debt that's going to be refunded and reissued, hopefully at a significantly better interest rate.
Would have a new rating without cost?
Absolutely. very valuable. It's actually listed on the prospectus and the documents related to this, so this should help.
Is Moody's likely to upgrade us too?
You know, they tend to work somewhat together. They're independent agencies, and not all offerings are they using both firms. Typically, they're using one. This actually isn't directly rated. What ends up happening is this offering gets put out there, and the prospective purchasers of this debt will do a due diligence and review what the latest analysts are looking at the debt and saying. So what they'll do is they'll see recent upgrade for the village. That's great. That might get more competition actually for the debt. Obviously, AAA would be the best thing to have, but to be honest with you, very few entities and municipalities have AAA ratings. Any other questions?
No, Ed, I want to thank you because it is your leadership in the Treasury Department that has made a big impact on the new rating. And I want to thank the board for also making the tough decisions to make improvements on the rating as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And then finally, when you get to the transfers, I do need to add something to it. So when the board's getting ready to do a transfer, I need to move the $120,000 back from the water fund. Okay, that borrowed the money. I need to get that back to the sewer fund before the end. So I'll put that in when you guys are going to go over the transfers. Okay. All right, thank you.
Wastewater?
Average volume of wastewater treated for a month, 1,168,000 gallons a day, 6.5 inches of rain. Facility met all New York State BDC and speedies permit limitations. Howard Lake Pump Station in Havens Road, checked regularly and operating properly. Bell filter press in operation 9 days. Cam Enterprises Inc. replaced a 15-inch sewer main running along West Point Highway into 2 manholes. And the line, the main run to West Point Highway, they relined that main to Memorial Park manhole. 16 days, road reopened April 25th. ABB Inc. on site to take measurements for the effluent flow meter / transmitter replacement, April 1st. John Jones and Kevin Hurst were interviewed by the police as part of an investigation into the department into the damage of the front end loader during snow removal operations on April 16th. John Jones met with the village engineer John Falchetti on Burns Avenue concerning Old Guard sewer connection on West Point Highway for sewer main replacement project. Called out by the police department for emergency mark out for Central Hudson, intersection of Church Street and Tobin's Lane on April 12th. Attended the department head meeting at Village Hall on April 22nd. Repair and maintenance. House pumps, Tri-Co Electric repaired wiring in the house pit pump, or pump pit. Edwards Building lift elevator, Mid-Hudson elevator installed new cables. Cleaning, scraping, and painting at facilities, 10 days. Maintenance and lubrication of pump motors and machinery as required. Maintenance of buildings and grounds as time allows, 23 days. Man hours lost due to sick, vacation, personal leave, or compensatory leave. 15 days, okay. Overtime work for a month, 29 hours. Emergency, 12 hours. Gas consumption, 40 gallons. That's it.
Please. Go for it. Thank you. Always good. Appreciate that. Chamber of Commerce.
Greetings. So our next chamber meeting is tomorrow. We'll have it over at the Holiday Inn Express. I want to thank Mayor Flynn for attending and helping to put together the first Business Committee Development meeting with the West Point Cadets, which happened last Tuesday or Wednesday? Yes, Tuesday of last week. And we had a good, I'd say a good 10 people around the table. I think everybody's on the same page now. I think we all know what we need to do. The West Point Cadets put together a very cohesive document explaining that there's got to be some continuity amongst all the different, many committees that are out there. Not just the chamber, but obviously the village, West Point administration, Vision, many different entities, as well as some help from above, if you will, some help from Senator Lark and some other government officials that were invested in helping us with this. So it looks like it's going to be a good thing. Our next meeting is going to be within, I think within 2 more weeks. It's supposed to happen at the beginning of June. And I'm happy to say I'm not the president of this particular committee, but there's a gentleman that's a resident that used to be a West Point, who's a West Point grad, or up West Point, and he came back to the area, and he's going to volunteer for now to be president. And I think he's going to help to keep things nice and moving along. It's nice to hear that there's an agenda, and it's the time element is tightly put together, because we all blab on, bottom line. This guy's like, right to the point. I like that, so that'll be very helpful. I also wanted to bring up the other side of the coin. This is more of the marketing, the municipal marketing business plan that we wanted to put together. I should say as a disclaimer right off the bat, this is not a Chamber of Commerce initiative. This is something for my business that we provide, Rockland Web Design. Essentially, this came from a meeting about a month and a half ago where Brian Zweig from the management consulting firm had talked about putting together basically a data aggregation of all the information necessary to find out how many people come through the gate to West Point, what sort of, what sort of things that we need in the village, which is something that some of the West Point cadets put together. But essentially, he was going to collect all the data and put it together in one report. Charlie, you had mentioned at the end of that presentation that Brian had made, will there be a deliverable at the end of his report that comes up with suggestions on what to do next? And the answer to that was no, because his objective is just to aggregate the data, put it together in one report, which is where we come in. We have a person who's working with us for the last 2.5 years. He's got experience in many different verticals: healthcare, technology, real estate. He's basically put business plans together in excess of $125 million. The revenues that were brought in because of that business plan. What we'd like to do, and he's kind of, I guess, for lack of a better term, winding his career down. He's made his money, so he's not, doing the heavy-duty rate sort of thing. So he'd like to do something where he's on a retainer, and maybe like 10 hours a week. And essentially, he would work in conjunction with Brian's week. All right, Brian would get him all the data necessary to put together the plan that makes the tangible suggestions on what to do next. Because without and I have experience with this because I have database programmers and also programmers. If you just have the data and not have a report on what to do with it, then that's a problem. So we'll be able to put together the comprehensive report, and further, Carl will come up here, as will I, to figure out what to do with that plan and get everybody together in order to get it done.
I asked Tom to make this presentation. I know Brian made it. What about cash reports? Bottom line is, we have to move forward some way. I did have this put in everyone's packet because what I don't want to do is miss out on money. Now, 2 years ago, when we were able to do $200,000 for the senior center, it was one of the first times that we applied the CBDG grant. Now we're doing it again, and there's a good chance we can get that money. There are a lot more programs out there that are not being approached. And this is June 16th is the deadline. I really want to kind of take this as a priority. I know that we don't have the information to make a decision tonight, but we are meeting on the 29th to do bills. I would like, if Tom can get us the information, review it, talk, and then on the next special meeting, make a decision of what we're looking at. Whether it's, we're going to gather the past reports, this, that. We need to move forward so we don't miss these opportunities. Because again, this is again, hundreds of thousands of dollars of grants that we're going to miss out on if we don't pursue it. The business community and the Main Street has got to become a priority because of the fact that with a flourishing Main Street, obviously will help the village flourish.
Now, am I correct in my understanding through your new economic development person that Brian plans to write this grant? He'll do the inputting on the computer?
That I don't know. And we can write the grant, but Brian could, either one of us could, because I know that Carl has experience with that, but I believe Brian said that he
Doesn't.
no? Okay. So then that's easy. I mean, we have two grant writers. We have Carl and we have Jen Ryan Lima, who you know. She's written grants for both the North Rockland Business Alliance, the Town of Stony Point. She is going for, and I have to say this right because I keep on thinking of the city, the club that closed down. It's not CBG, it's CBDG grant. She's writing a grant for the Town of Stony Point to do some local improvement over there. So we have two grant writers that can certainly assist with that without a problem.
Basically, what I'm saying is, next 2 weeks, we need, or within the next week, prioritize this, look at it, make a decision for our next special meeting, so that we don't miss out on this deadline. If we decide that we don't have the information, we can't do it, then we need to look for the next available opportunity. But by not having everything ready in order, I understand there's a cost that comes with it. If we can't pull the stuff together within our own departments and get everything done.
If a consultant is interested in doing the job, they will do the application. We still would have to go through the procurement.
Right.
Clearly, if a consultant has written the application, they tend to score better.
Okay.
And from what I understand, if you're doing something through CFA, there's a method of consolidating all.
That's what this is.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
So that's something that we're gonna pursue.
I sent a document over to Ms. Thompson, I believe it is. Taylor, I'm sorry.
Gene.
And it kind of outlined the three pieces that we would need in order to be able to do this. The data report, which we already have. The data from Brian's week, once he is conducting the project, so that'll be a deliverable that happens later on. And then the third is that archive data that, from what I understand, has been around for several years. So I guess the awkward part of this is we're going to have to be sifting through a lot of historical information that we got to put together, whether it's on paper or sitting in a computer somewhere. That's the part where we have to physically be in there and grabbing all the necessary materials. So just something to be aware of. I will put that in, I guess, like a small proposal, just to explain what's going to happen next.
Perfect.
All right?
Thank you so much, Tom.
You're welcome.
All right. Mayor's report. First, I'd like to thank the library for allowing us to utilize this facility. It's always great to be able to do that. I'd also like to, for those who don't know, introduce the two gentlemen that were here with us today as well. Our new engineer, Al Fusco, and our new attorney, Bill Florence. I'm very excited about the team that we're putting together and it's going to move forward. And I'm really glad that they're with us. I'd also like to thank the Fort Montgomery Fire Department. They went ahead and made a donation to the 4th of July committee in the amount of $1,500, which was excellent. They'd actually got $1,100 from the previous 4th of July committee, and they decided that they would return that and then throw another $400 on top. So I really appreciate the Fort Montgomery Fire Department stepping up and helping out. Energy curtailment specialists. You have that? Oh, no, that's under discussion. Okay, hold on. Okay. First, and most importantly, and this isn't going out on TV, so you're going to check the internet. I congratulate my wife for getting her master's in education. So I want to congratulate you, Anne-Marie. You're beautiful. I love you. And also, I want to congratulate a great game. Good game, guys. Moving on, Memorial Day. Memorial Day is next Wednesday, or next Monday. We are having Memorial Day services at 9 a.m. at Memorial Park. We have some fantastic people coming, and I encourage everyone to please make their way down there. That's 9 a.m. at Memorial Park. Also, and it's a shame that we're not live, West Point graduation is next Wednesday. We won't have another meeting between then, so if you are online, West Point graduation is next Wednesday, the 28th. I'd like to thank the Eisenhower Leadership Group from across the street. They made another donation to one of our local schools, and they are moving forward, working on the art walk from Bear Mountain to West Point, which I think will be very nice for this community. Past week, I met with Reverend Carter and Reverend Miller. We talked about several concerns in the community. One concern we are going to try to take care of at Village Hall, and that is possibly being a hub for job search for, in particular, local youths, but also any community members looking for work. So we're hoping to possibly take a part of our board and utilize that so that there will be a central area for people looking for people to hire as well as people looking for jobs. This isn't going to help unless you're checking the website. The school board election is tomorrow, correct? 20th, tomorrow. So if you are checking the website, please get out and vote. Speaking of our website, I did talk to Joe Balsito, and that's something I would like to move into discussion about our website. I talked to Joe Balsito about starting to convert our website to a more user-friendly site that we can manage ourselves. Right now, mostly Gina sends the information up to Joe Balsito's company, and then they put it on the website. Now, with the way websites are, it's almost like a Facebook page, the fact that you can just put things anywhere you want, as long as you know the basics. So he told me that he's kind of waiting on the phone call. That a lot of other groups are doing it, a lot of other communities are doing it. The reason why I'm looking for the change, I'm hoping that the time will be very similar, because if you're inputting the stuff to the computer anyway, and you're sending it to Joe, you can input the stuff to the computer and just put it on our website. So I'm hoping there's not going to be a massive time difference, but the time savings on the fact that we can utilize our website more effectively for information, being able to let people know, check on Wednesday for something that's going on Thursday, where we upload something, and now they can actually find more information about an event happening Wednesday, or something that happened in the village 2 days previous, something beyond our website. So there is a turnover with Balsito, and it's a short turnover, but this allows us, particularly in emergency situations, to utilize our website better, to help people, to give them the information they need to do what they need in an emergency. That was a goal. Also, he's going to help me update several other areas on the website to, again, make it more, not just user-friendly, but more so that people want to go see it. I think we have an excellent website right now. I think they've done a great job. And he says that it is going to cost, to make this adjustment, this upgrade, it is going to cost us a little bit more, but we will recap that money in less than 2 years for the cost to Balsito. So I think it's a very good move, and I want to get the numbers and the information to the board, and I'll bring that to the board, and then we can make a decision. Okay? All right, now, I just also want to make a statement. After we talked for several times about the tax abatement, and again, we're not online, or we're not on TV, so I'll probably be putting this out there one or two more times. I just wanted to make a statement that the village board stands by the decision that they don't support the level of tax abatement that is being offered. We have talked to the school and town about negotiations, and the school will be moving forward with the village in negotiating for a better tax abatement. If you are interested in the IDA, I ask that every taxpayer, please read the IDA offer. There's a lot of misinformation going around, once again, in the community. Please check the facts. Don't rely on what you're hearing on the corner. To be clear, we support the project, this board, and we are willing to negotiate, but I can't stand by while $2.25 million of taxpayer dollars is given away without any attempt to keep that money in the community. And that's it. We want to see this hotel go forward. We just met with the planning board before this meeting to talk about making sure the project is moving forward to benefit the community. But the key is, no matter how big or how small, how great a project is, if it's not done right, it's not good for the community. As long as it's done right, this could be a great thing for the community. And that's the only thing the board's concerned about, is that everything is done right. Moving into discussion. Energy curtailment specialists. Did everyone get that? As Charlie had requested, which I thought was a great point, they have curtailed the agreement so that we haven't, our first year we can opt out if we don't like it. So I would like to, I'll be moving this down to business as long as everyone's okay with that. They did make the adjustment. Smoking. I was asked to bring up smoking at Roe Park. I would say all the parks, but we don't control the other parks. They've asked about Pickens, that's a school park. They've asked about Brooks's. We have a lot of these family events, and rather than move to the outer area of the park, people are smoking right in the area. Obviously, back in the day, that was a standard thing. So much has been done over the years to accommodate a smoke-free area. So I did want to bring it up. I did check the signs. There's nothing there right now that says, do not smoke around the 5-year-old play area. So I did want to bring that to the board's attention to see if there is something we can do about putting that in play in the park area, not obviously the village, but just in the Roe Park area. So I'll put something together and we can talk about that. Any comments on the smoking at Roe?
No. I just don't know where the parameters would be.
That's the thing. I figured we just start it off, bring it to the board, and then we'll try to take it to the next level. Okay, did we get anything from Kevin on this letter, Gina?
Okay,
So you have,
it was a leak.
okay,
So,
so he's taking care of it?
it's a leak inside. It's not an issue that, as a representative of the village, you would take care of.
Right.
It's a customer that had apparently had a leak. And I asked, I said, is it ours or hers? And he said, no, it's hers. And on the first floor, that continued to run considerably. And that's reflected in the high bill and reflected in the higher sewer bill. That's what
Is she aware of did he get contacted?
I don't know if he had contacted her. I did have a conversation with him earlier about this matter, but I did like to ask if he contacted Mrs. Ross.
Okay. We'll just make sure he does that.
Yes.
Tomorrow.
Pat, does that mean that the board's taking no action, so Mrs. Ross can be told that?
No.
Okay.
Well, yeah, we're taking no action because it's a leak inside the house, so we can't take action. But I want to make sure that Kevin relays that to her, so she understands it and she can take care of it herself.
Okay.
The village doesn't own anything past the main, the water main. When it's on the client's property, that's the client's land, it's pipes by the client. And it's the client's responsibility to take care of their own piping. In the house, it's even more pronounced, I mean, it's obvious.
Okay, we're going to move into new business now. So we'll start with the energy curtailment specialist. Do I have a motion to sign the contract for the ECS, as the contract you have in your packet, for a money-saving opportunity through the energy curtailment specialist?
I think I still have the old version, it said 5 years.
No, read further down.
We just paid 5 years.
At the bottom, you reserve the right to opt out, or the highlighted area.
60 days of the prior to the second.
Second capability period, it doesn't say 1 year. I'm in agreement to sign it for 1 year, but
You know what, then let's,
The bill, we kind of figured it.
you know what, I'm not gonna spend too much time on it. It needs to, I have no problem, it needs to be clearer for you.
Yeah.
So we'll table this till the next meeting. Okay. We need to approve the minutes as written, regular meeting May 5th, 2014. Do I have a motion?
so moved.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Opposed? So moved. I need a motion to set a special meeting for the end of the fiscal year bills and claims, May 29th, 2014 at 9 a.m. This is a change because the 28th was West Point graduation, so we wanted to make it not West Point graduation. This is the next day, this is Thursday. Before we make a motion, do I have 2 people that could come down and sign those bills and claims for me morning? First thing. Okay?
I think I can make it like
Sweet Georgia.
When?
9 o'clock on next Thursday.
I think I can mow the 9.
Fantastic. All right, so do I have a motion to set a special meeting?
Yep.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
that.
I need a motion to authorize me to sign the pool permit renewal application.
What, is that something new? I don't, I've never seen that before. Did anybody know anything about that?
No, we do every year.
Do we do it every year?
Well, I don't think you officially got the approval for the mayor to sign it, but the mayor signed it every year.
Oh, okay, because I've never seen it come across,
Right,
okay.
but it should be approved for him to sign.
Do I have a motion to do? Do I have a second? Fantastic. Get that done. All right. I need a motion to approve sewer main jet rotting, jetting and cleaning, at a quote of $1,400. There are 2 quotes in there. Both $1,400. Great question.
Who's the most reliable?
The one that they've used all, the majority of the time is Stan. Thank you.
Farmhead, do you have a preference?
Sam. Well, basically, he's stated on his email or memo in the front, that they use Tam for the majority of second half.
I know they have, I just, okay.
That's up to, I mean, do we want to look, do we want to expand our possibilities?
One says that they're going to charge $150 for,
Disposal.
so let's see, $300 2-yard minimum for disposal. This is the representation for disposal.
On Tam's.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Right.
So 10 would be less expensive.
Right.
$550. That's okay.
Do I have a motion to accept the bid from Dan?
Yes.
Charlie, second by Bob. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So moved.
I had a motion to approve budget transfer, $1,200 from F 8310.04, the Water Administration, to A2801, the General Interfund Revenue, cover the Office of Administration of Billing and Collections. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the budget transfer of $12,000 from G8110.04 Sewer Administration to A2801 General Fund Revenue to cover Office Administration, Billing, and Collections. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to approve the budget transfer of $120,000 from the water fund to repay the sewer fund. That's F5031 to G5031. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now, two more. I'm going to write this as we go, with Bill's help. I need a motion to, recreation.
Oh, agreed. We want a motion to,
Dissolve.
sign our 60-day notice to the town concerning the recreation agreement, which would effectively terminate the agreement. Or to have it terminated sooner by the mutual agreement of the town and the village.
That's what I would like to do. I provided the agreements. It was last looked at in 1982. Bob did point out that everybody that signed the agreement no longer is with us. It just has little to no bearing on the village, the town, or the rec program as it stands today. The actual two pieces that I actually would like to pull out don't even make, they're not even, in there it says, we're providing the chemicals for the pool, when actually the town is providing the chemicals for the pool. It says the town's responsible for replacing all the playground equipment when we pay for the replacement of the playground. We haven't been following this agreement for the last 30 years. So the reason for this is Jim Willis has announced that he is retiring. As of right now, the rec commission is the one that hires the recreation director, not the town board. So by getting rid of this agreement, we're going to the town board now and hire the rec director, which is the right way to go. And then the rec director will recommend any hires in the recreation, and they will be hired by the town board, just like all the other departments, trying to put everything in line where it should be. Bob did send up a modification to the agreement, but it basically still, it still said people on the rec commission are employees of the town, which back in 1982 that might have made sense, today it does not. The agreement has no real value. So my recommendation is to get rid of the agreement, because no one's following anyway. Maintain the rec commission as a rec committee, get them specific duties, like upgrading and maintaining the parks and whatnot, and the programs. And then in a much shorter agreement, to come up with who's responsible for what in the parks until we consolidate. As I said, right now, not even following the rules that are in this agreement.
Will, I guess I'm directing this question to Bill. By terminating the agreement, does that automatically put the hiring into the town board?
The town board has always really had the sole power to hire and to fire. I don't know how the commission got this, other than maybe the laws were different in 1982 when it was embraced, or the town endorsed whatever the commission did. I don't know how they were able to do that. The town has to ultimately, when they're in charge of this, they should, you want to synchronize authority with responsibility. If it's their employees who are actually doing it, you really want them to have authority over doing it. And in these days of civil service, it's even more key that people who have authority have the responsibility directly to somebody within the organization. So it seemed to me that if we're going to do anything, we will revise the agreement to those parts of the recreation plan between the village and the town that are still outstanding, basically pledge cooperation.
Right. And that's what's going on with, technically, the pavilion at Grove Park, which we talked about, we need to make sure and maintain it. Hasn't been maintained for several years since they put it in. It's supposed to be restained to maintain the columns. And technically, in this agreement, the town's not responsible, we are. But when I asked about the rec funds and the recreation funds that are available, Bob said, give me a number and let's move forward. So we are working together very well right now. What we need to do is get this done so that they can hire the rec director, get the rec director moving forward on new programs, the whole nine. And then I don't see that they would have a problem us having input as to the rec committee's direction and the new rec director. We want, when you're hiring a person, you don't want to just say, take over the job. You want to give them a lot more goals and a lot more possibilities that they could, bring to the program. But it's imperative that we do this before he retires, because the rec commission will do it. And not that I don't trust the rec commission, but we're trying to clean everything up over this last year.
But you and Bob have discussed this.
We have discussed this. Bob, basically by dissolving the agreement, now it's on the town to do what they need to do.
Did you say earlier that had employees on the rec commission?
In the agreement, it actually states the rec commission are employees of the town. This is one of the things back in '82, I don't know if the wording was okay, but now, that's not good.
Well, I thought the committee was appointed by the town and the
They are. We just appointed a person about a month or two ago.
So how does the town have employees on the commission?
The rec commission is part of the town, not part of the village.
Right?
Through this agreement that we have with the town, we recommend 3, and the town recommends 3.
Okay.
So one is immediate, the other one is 60 days notice, is that basically?
What we want to do is move forward on the immediate.
First, you need authority for somebody to write the letter on behalf of the village. So you need to have a motion to do that. And basically, then to correspond with the town and see what kind of mutual understandings that can be undertaken. First, if the town disagrees, then the agreement is over in 60 days. If they agree, they agree to do it right away, in which case you can move forward.
So it can be accelerated.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a motion to allow me to write a letter to the town to dissolve the agreement between the village and town, the recreation agreement, so that we can move as soon as possible that the town move as soon as possible and move forward.
I'll make the motion that you write the letter.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Brown. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Good to go. Thank you. Okay, last thing on new business. I talked to you, I brought this up several times, and I just want to try to bring it to a vote, see where we're at, parking meters. I know we talked last meeting and we were in favor, we never made a move. I did want to see if we can't move forward, not just for several different reasons, but also, to me, it's a stage one of our commitment to Main Street, to making a change. Next step being bringing the lines down, facades, the whole nine. I believe that it would be a good move, and it's also going to be a welcoming, more of a welcoming atmosphere to those coming to the business district.
I had a person approach me tonight with a wonderful idea, rather than take them down and find out the byproduct of the meter removal, so it's not something that we want. The thing that he discussed was put a bag over them, leave them in, render them, no more, and that way you can see how things are shaking out, and if there's an issue, you can revive the meters without having to reinstall them again, and just see how it pans out before you actually remove them. Like a 90-day or 60-day test period, just to kind of get a hand on what is actually going to happen when you remove them. I thought that was kind of made sense to me. But in the meantime, there would be, no more meters. Then removed shortly after that, if everything seems to work out all right. No real issues. It's a pretty good idea.
Charles, shaking your head.
Yeah, I have reservations about voting on it tonight, definitely. Generally, something like that will have costs involved. You do an analysis, survey the existing conditions, consider growth and trends, determine what we want to propose as a change, and most importantly, present the options and facts to the public. There really hasn't been a public discussion of this. You may be absolutely correct, and it would be the best thing for the village to get rid of them, but I think there needs to be a little more dialogue before we jump into it. And part of what is governing my thinking, Cold Spring has always had the chalking of the tires, and it hasn't worked. It is time consuming. They did have to hire a part-time enforcement officer, so I'm not sure about the cost savings, even if it would be neutral. And more communities are looking into going to parking meters, including Cold Spring.
No, I know. And I talked to them about this matter, and one of the things we talked about is towing, because it's not working the way they currently have it. And they were talking about credit cards on meters and different things, and we'll just leave it as it is and sort of rigorously enforce the laws that they have and start coming in on Tuesday of 1 month and tow 15 cars. They have a bigger issue. They have no parking. They have all the commuters parking spots, and then they take their chances because they know enforcement's not doing it. So one of the things was enforce the rules that you have to tow 10 cars today and let it sit for 2 or 3 weeks, tow 2 or 3 more, and then you might be good for a year or two. But they have no answer for this either. They're grasping for straws.
And then if you're talking towing, my understanding is the parking problem becomes a PR problem for the village, in that people don't want to shop downtown because they're fearful of getting a ticket. Towing would be 10 times worse.
I agree with that.
You don't have to tell. We're obviously not going to but don't go to the extreme. If you're chalking and you've been there for 2 hours, you ticket. $25 ticket has been working here, people are very, very aware of the fact they're getting these tickets. But what we'll do is, I have no problem bagging the meters. But I believe that discussions have occurred, and I believe that we've looked at it, looked at the costs. But what we'll do is we'll provide a better analysis for the board, so that you have an idea of what we're looking at. But we will, obviously, we're not going to go out tonight. So that's it for new business.
I think also that there's some wrong information out, because a lot of people are looking confused about the parking meters being moved, taken out. And my question is, should you take them down? How the time going to be kept? Who's going to do that? I mean, you can't have police out
So do you want to show up the tires?
there.
They do the tickets now. What's the difference?
Well, just to add this to the mix, I think, well, actually, I'm pretty sure, snow removal would be actually much easier without the meters in place for what that's worth.
Correct.
Cleaning the streets, so there's the obvious, you have to factor in other different things other than just,
What we'll do is we'll put together the pros and cons. We'll bag the meters. Is everyone in favor of doing that?
I'm in favor of
discussing this further.
literally studying the issue, bagging it as an experiment to see if it improves public relations and community attractiveness to both residents and visitors. And then actually look at the cost both ways, because you would have to have a police officer tied up for 2 trips, first to chalk and then to come back and ticket.
But
I
realize that if there's a call, they're going to go. If there's not going to be an outbreak of people abusing the parking because the meters went down. If you think of the use of the public, the only people that are abusing the meters, I'm not talking about not putting a nickel in, but being there for a long period of time, are the employees of the businesses and the people who live above. And right now, for those that feel like it, employees in particular, they can walk out and put that 2 quarters in and know they have 2 hours or however long it is, and come back. So there is no, even though the 2-hour limit is in place, we can still lose a decent amount of parking spots because we're not looking at the 2-hour thing and we're not chalking. Because that person can just keep putting money in.
I do have a follow-up question for Bill. If we get rid of meters, and say this happens, and we go to chalking the tire, doesn't that require additional municipal law? Like, when people erase the chalk?
You need to have a policy and a rule. You have to have, you could establish parking rules now, because the meter is not going to be the rule maker. You'll have a different set of rules that will be in writing, and you'll have to advertise, have them with signs, whatever you do. And to put up signage, and it works that way.
I know in California, it's really a big deal if you wash the chalk off your tire.
What we'll do is, we'll come back with more information
Okay.
that we can discuss it at a different time. Okay? We need a motion to accept the bills and claims in the amount of $47,297.81. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Right.
All opposed? Public comment.
Pat, did you do this resolution for the CDBG? I stopped you before public hearing, but you still need to do that
Correct.
resolution.
Thank you. Village of Highland Falls Board of Trustees supporting and concurring in the Orange County Community Development Block Grant Program. Whereas the Village of Highland Falls actively pursues grant opportunities, and whereas the village seeks funds for, whereas applications must be submitted by May 30th, 2015, to be eligible for consideration of this grant. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village of Highland Falls is hereby submitting an application for consideration under the fiscal year 15 Orange Urban County Consortium Community Development Program, and that the chief elected official or executive officer is hereby authorized to submit this application. They further certify that they have read and understood the Orange Urban County Consortium Community Development Guidelines for the fiscal year 2015 program year, and have met all of its applicable requirements, and that the information contained in the application is accurate and true to the best of their knowledge. Do I have a motion to accept the resolution?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Roll call, trustee Murphy,
Aye.
trustee Brown,
Aye.
trustee Mellon,
Aye.
Mayor Flynn.
Aye. Public comment? Thank you.
Good evening, Board and Mr. Mayor. I'm here on behalf of Philip Blue tonight, and I had submitted I originally submitted an invoice on his behalf for snow removal work that had been performed during, as I understand it, the snow emergency in February. The original invoice that was billed in hours and by equipment used was provided to the board along with his insurance certificate and voucher at the end of February. In approximately 6 to 7 weeks later, it came to, or it is my understanding, that the other service providers had all been paid. So Philip went into the village to inquire as to why his portion of the invoices, that his invoice had not been paid. At that time, he was advised to break it into 3 invoices, which I did. He came back to me with that information, and I provided 3 invoices. The same original invoice, again, broken down on 3 different pages by hours and equipment used. I would like the board to help me understand why Philip hasn't been paid to date. Well, 1 check, with the exception of 1 check which he received a week ago. And, you know, is there anything further that's required for Philip?
Didn't I see his signature on this last one?
Yeah.
So didn't you just sign that?
Yeah.
So it's going to go through?
Both of the remaining, I mean, our understanding was that there were adjustments made to his invoice after the work had been performed. And secondly, that the original time lapse, there was like a discrepancy between, is that true? I mean, first of all, I guess what my understanding was, the others had been paid in full, Philip had not. Is the board aware that Philip had the largest equipment that was used during the snow removal? His dump truck was larger than any other piece of equipment there. When the town's equipment broke down, the front end loader, Philip provided the front end loader. Is the board also aware that he was the one that was towing the town vehicles out of Fickens Field repeatedly when they got stuck? I mean, I was there for 4 of the tows. That was him, you know, he provided the chains and the
You
time.
just signed the thing, though, we're going to cut the check.
You've won.
But, well, I don't know that we want, I mean, the check in full for the balance of the invoice submitted, or is
What
there
he
an
ju- what he
adjustment?
just signed.
What was, so are you saying that there, I didn't see what was signed, was there an adjustment made to the voucher? I mean, maybe perhaps.
Of what Mr. Glue and I had spoken? Yes.
So all right, so then I can request a FOIL for the
Sure.
other snow removal invoices that have been paid, because
There's
his,
a foil for everybody.
everybody had a certain rate that was paid up front and agreed upon to the others, and then his is adjusted? Is that correct?
No, actually, his was talked about and agreed upon, and it didn't actually, when it came back in, your original invoice had 3 of the days properly done, and then the second invoice that came in, there was actually more money on those. If you
Well, that's
want, why don't
what
you why don't you foil the information, and let us know, bottom line, Phil saw the document that he signed. He signed for the remaining balance. Just today or yesterday?
No, there's no date.
It was Friday? Thank you. Just Friday. So we can't, it'll be in the year, I imagine it'll be in the year-end bills before we start the new fiscal year.
Mayor, do you want me to address any of it, because I have a lot of
No, well, I think we're okay.
Well, it was long overdue compared to the April pay date. I mean, the others were paid over a month ago. And the only reason, I mean, he had to go in to inquire as to why this wasn't paid. And when we were requested to redo the original invoice, at that time, there was no mention of any rate change adjustments or changes. It was provide the same bill broken down. They wanted 3 different invoices by piece of equipment, which was the original bill. It was all itemized. And now there's 3 bills by equipment used. And then there was adjustments made after the fact. I mean, that wasn't requested at the time of the invoice submission. So a voucher then does not agree with what the invoice is.
Then why did Mr. Blue sign it?
I don't know, I wasn't there. I mean, I didn't see the voucher that was prepared, so, I mean, are we saying that?
Is it not his company, or?
Well, the invoice, of course, it's his company, I was doing the bookkeeping.
Okay.
And so I have not seen an invoice signed, but the invoices were submitted, and now you're saying that the voucher is signed for a different amount, a lesser amount. Is that correct?
Mr. Blue, did you sign the invoice?
Yes, I did.
The invoice, he signed the voucher.
The voucher. So that we can pay.
Yeah, there was a discrepancy on the amount per hour. The first 3 days, we agreed on.
$100.
Right.
Correct.
Then after that,
$135.
yeah, where did you come up with the 135, so I wanted to know.
You and I stood there and said,
I know, but Kevin.
but you agreed. I don't understand.
I know.
Now you're not agreeing.
Well, I wasn't sure when I went in here to sign that voucher that that was what's gonna happen. I was supposed to get $175 an hour, $170 an hour for those hours, the other hours, not the first 3 days, the rest of the hours. But then you said no, 135, and I was confused then, when I went into the office.
First of all, I didn't say no. I asked if you would agree to meet in the middle because your initial bid was for $100. We were not informed of the change. So I said, could you meet me in the middle? You wonder where the number came from? It came from half of 70. Half of 70 is 35. I asked, since we weren't informed that you were adding to the bill, could you meet me in the middle? And you said yes. So there was an agreement. That is reflected on the voucher that you signed. The only thing taken off the voucher was the money that was already paid to you in full for the front loader. In full. Same rate as everybody else. Questions?
Yes.
No, I mean,
The front-end loader was the last piece of equipment that was added. I mean, that was
Correct.
subsequent.
yeah, that was.
I mean,
Correct.
he provided the original service, you know, he worked that President's Day weekend. He worked on February 15th, 16th, and 17th.
As did
With his backhoe
everybody.
and his dump truck.
As did everybody.
Well, not everybody, the McCarthy brothers weren't.
As did everybody who got paid, they worked.
Initially. They joined in later because the snow continued and the hours continued.
But he got paid for the hours. I don't understand why you're.
Well, he wasn't paid for the hours because the additional equipment that was added wasn't part of the original agreement. And that was part of the issue. He was told, we were told, when I prepared the bill, I was told that the agreed upon rate was $85 an hour per equipment.
You were told by
So the
who?
truck was one rate. His
She was
backhoe
told by
rate-
Kevin Hurst.
No.
Yes.
Kevin Hurst talked to you about the agreed amounts.
Well, and Phil,
Or Phil did. Kevin talked to you directly.
I may have been present during the conversation. So it was, we were billing at 85, this is what, well, I was just following what I was instructed, so that's why the invoice was prepared the way it was. That the backhoe front end loader was $85 an hour, the Mack dump truck was $85 an hour, and this was all itemized and laid out in the invoices. And that the CAT, which he subsequently added on, when the town's equipment had failed, was billed at $120 an hour because it was a 400-yard, it was a large piece
And
of
he got
equipment.
paid in full for the cap already.
Okay,
Yeah,
so the
and
CAT was paid. but
Right, the
no,
first
it's not
3
true.
days, where the agreement was $100, because it was Phil and 2 vehicles.
It did not change.
That-
When we went uptown, Kevin said, put another man on the.
Correct, the first 3 days was $100. That's how it reflects on the invoice. The next 4 days, you added a person.
No, I added a person as soon as we started, the first 3 days. As soon as I drove uptown, he said, you gotta keep somebody here and open up the road in between loading the truck. I said, okay, so I had 3 I had 2 pieces working and then 2 operators. I had not, so I
Yeah,
had,
don't try
I was,
to-
at 100 hours an hour, it was just supposed to be.
I understand.
Nobody else.
Let's, obviously, we've got to sit down with Kevin. I don't understand why you would sign a voucher that you
I
don't.
was under pressure here, I'm just trying to.
I think that was the misunderstanding, that when Phil may have made the original agreement that you just stated, it was for Phil alone. But he was told to bring on, it was a snow emergency, he was told to bring on someone else. So
And
then
Phil
he was
agreed-
providing at $85 an hour.
Right, and
for those
Phil
two pieces
agreed
of
to
equipment.
accept the money that was agreed upon.
Yeah.
Now you're saying you're not.
Well, I only thought it was the first 3 days. I didn't know it was gonna go through, and then you were gonna reduce the 170 to 135 for the rest of the work. I didn't realize that.
That's what we just came to, just to
Okay.
understand what
We'll-
transpired. and
We'll sit
why.
down with Kevin Hurst then and go through it.
I mean, so what is the process though? Because, I mean, as I say, this event occurred in February. He has one check to date that he finally received last week.
You would have a check,
That's a whole
you would have a check by
lot.
next week if you would accept the voucher that you signed, but now we've got to review.
You can't pay until.
No, now we've got to review it and
Well,
review it with Kevin, review it with you, go
Well,
through the
it's-
board process.
Well, it's certainly not going to be less than the voucher that he signed, but I would like to see the voucher compared to what, what the invoice is.
We'll sit down with Kevin and we'll go through that. Okay? Fantastic. Any other public comment? At this time, I would like the motion to move to executive session to discuss personnel matters. Do I have a motion? Motion by Bob Mellon, seconded by Harold Webb. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Thank you very much for joining us.